So as I promised, today start the brand new series that we're going to be putting up on YouTube and our Odyssey called Troubleshoot Your Chickens. Now what we're trying to do here is hopefully we can create a playlist that you guys can come to, type in the search bar what's going on with your chickens, and eventually one day, because it's going to take a while, you'll be able to get pretty much all the help you need and know what you need to do with your chickens before it's actually time to wrap it up and take them to a vet or do other things. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about one of the most common things that does happen in chickens with any homesteader, and that's upper respiratory issues. So today I'm going to try to teach you a little bit on what we do to check or test our chickens to see if they do have an upper respiratory infection or disease, and go from there. But there's many different ways to tell. We do have tricks that we can tell really early before most people do, just because we know what to look for, and we do take a break and sit down and watch our chickens for quite a few minutes every day. Like I said just a little bit earlier, if you have time, and it's if you have time, but we all need to do it, is while you're out feeding your chickens, always take an extra minute. Lean up against the coop or a tree, sit back, watch their behavior, see how they eat, see how they act, how active they are. Listen to the crows if you have roosters or different sounds that they make, and you'll be able to tell a whole lot about your chickens when it comes time to troubleshoot them. We touched on this upper respiratory thing quite a bit in our chicken trivia and our Saturday night live stream. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and participating in that. It was a lot of fun. Like we said in the trivia, we as homesteaders are usually the #1 reason why chickens can usually catch a common upper respiratory infection, and it comes from basically not watering your chickens enough. They get overzealous, drink too much, aspirate, and it almost always turns into pneumonia. The reason why I say a lot of times it's a homesteader's fault is because we really ain't learned enough about our chickens to diagnose them properly yet. And that basically comes from not spending enough time with your chickens, or paying a lot of attention to them after you feed them and water them, and you know, just spending a little time knowing about your flocks. Don't feel bad. This is the #1 thing that is overlooked by all homesteaders. It happens to everybody. I've did it numerous times. It's just either we come in late from work, or we forgot to water them before we leave to go to work. On a really hot summer day, come back, the water is dry, you fill it up, you see all your chickens lined up around the water, even sometimes scuffling or fighting to get there, and you'll see them drink and drink and drink, and all of a sudden you'll start hearing what we call a pip. Now a pip and a sneeze is two different things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the pip sound for you now, and let you hear what this sound sounds like. Every homesteader's heard it if you have chickens. This is a sound that you hardly ever will hear from a free-range chicken. Now if you hear this sound from your free-range chickens, it's something definitely to be following them around for, because it almost always means there's a problem when in free-range chickens. Let me go ahead and elaborate a little bit on that. What I mean by free-range chickens that usually won't make this sound unless something bad is happening is because a free-range chicken has access to whatever it needs. They'll always stay really close to a water source, and they'll only roam just far enough to get what they need for food. They always have what they need, therefore they're not ever really going to be overzealous unless they find something they really like, and by then it usually don't cause a problem. With cooped or open range or pasture chickens, they don't always have access to everything they need. Their waters can go dry, and they don't have an alternative source to drink from. Therefore, it's up to us to provide what they need. So in the intern, if we come home late from work and we find the waters empty or dry, and we go give them water, if we don't gauge the chicken, and we can prevent it, but if we don't gauge that chicken on how much water they drink, then they're just going to aspirate, and it's going to cause a problem for you. So normally in free-range chickens, if you hear this, they normally don't get overzealous with water or other things like that. If they're pipping or they're sneezing a whole lot, or you hear it more than one time a day, then you need to follow them or catch that particular chicken, because you do have a problem. If you heard that sound, you're going to hear a lot of people say, well, a lot of times that's normal, there's nothing really to worry about. But most of the time, your coop, pastured, or caged chickens ain't really going to make this sound unless they get either a piece of food stuck in one of the nostrils, or they have drunk just a little bit too much water. So you might hear it once a day, but once a day is still too much. Normally this don't happen quite often. If you hear a pip or the sound you just heard, it's something to definitely hang out for a little bit to see if it's happening on a regular basis or it was just that one time. So now here is a little bit of what a sneeze sounds like. Now, like I said before, it could be just something common like a piece of food stuck. A chicken likes to pass air through its nasal cavity to try to eject what got stuck, and a lot of times a water droplet will get their nose or they'll get something stuck. You'll see them wipe their beak on the ground, and you'll hear them make that pipping noise. It's not always a bad thing, but like I said, if you're hearing it more than one time a day, it's something to watch. Now, if the pip is happening more than one time a day and it's happening on a regular basis, let's say like every 5 minutes or even every 15 minutes, that's not a pip, that's a sneeze, and you have a sick chicken. Now, once you have the pipping, the eye closing, much more lethargic chicken, not very active or moving around much, once the situation progresses and gets worse, the next thing you'll see is erratic beak movement, gaping mouth. Every few minutes the mouth will be gaping open, or as it progresses worse, the beak will just stay open constantly, and you'll hear wheezing sounds. There'll be nasal drip, all types of other things that you'll see bubbling. You'll hear gurgling sounds, all other things of that nature that will indicate obviously a worsening upper respiratory infection. So the next thing you want to look for is head tracking, and I'm going to show you how to test a chicken for that now. Now, normally a healthy chicken can keep its head focused on a certain item while the rest of its body's moving around, as you see demonstrated here. A sick chicken won't be able to do that, but sometimes you do have to get a chicken interested in something like maybe a treat. Now, there are many types of upper respiratory infections, and there are many different ways chickens can catch them. One another way that I'd like to mention really brief in this video is keeping clean waters. A lot of times you'll look and see you'll have some kind of buildup. The green stuff is just algae, and then you'll have more worsened stuff like red cyanobacteria, which is the red burgundy stuff that grows in there. All the things, even though you are changing your chicken's water out, if you don't take a scrub brush daily and get all that stuff out, it's definitely another way to spread it for your chickens. We also like to incorporate miracle water, chick water, things of that nature. We have a recipe for that we make here at home on our homestead that we feed our chickens through the wintertime and the cold weather. It helps keep their lungs strong. It helps fight off infections and bacteria, things of that nature. If you guys would like to check that out and follow along, I'll throw the link in the top right hand corner to that recipe. Like I said, we feed it to them through the wintertime and the cold months. We also give them an alternate clean water source, but we also make sure there's a gallon of this out there, and they'll know when to drink it. Now, most of you know, if you follow along with us, you know that this chicken is our Onyx fire breed female we call Diana. Now, you see how Diana's really active? Her head's moving around, her eyes are very alert, and you can tell she's wanting to get down. Normally she loves to get held, but she thinks there's food over here behind me. So anyway, and the rooster's calling her with his little sounds. But you see how active she is, really alert. You can tell by those eyes that she's wanting to get down. She has, intentions on doing other things. I'm going to put her down, but when you pick up a chicken that's pipping, they're not going to be that alert. They're not going to kick. And then when you pick them up, a chicken has to position itself the right way, and its head most of the time until it gets comfortable won't be recessed or tucked in. It'll actually be the opposite and stretched out like hers was. You pick up a sick chicken, they won't head track again like you just seen, and they won't be really hyper about getting down. They won't be active, they won't move their head a lot, and a lot of times they'll just keep their eyes closed even when you're holding them. That again indicates a problem. So now just a quick note here, I do want to mention that if it does so happen that you have an upper respiratory infection in your flock, it's always best to remove the infected chickens, make sure you quarantine them, and if they're laying hens, you might want to stop eating the eggs, especially if you're going to have to give them antibiotics. Back in the day, us chicken owners really didn't have to worry too much about our chickens getting an upper respiratory infection. We could just go to the local feed store and pick us up a small pack of terramycin, and it was dosed out equally just to drop in 1 gallon of water, and our chickens would be fine in a week. All we'd have to do was just make sure we'd have removed all the hens and didn't eat any eggs. You can't do that pretty much anymore. They pretty much stopped you from picking up any kind of antibiotic. They're wiping them off the shelves. They want that extra visit. They want to make sure you go through a vet. Well, you know how it goes. So I really can't tell you that you can just go pick up some terramycin anymore and drop it in a gallon of water when things get really, really bad, and treat your chickens yourself. And nowadays, they want you to go to the vet. Okay, guys, so we hope this helped. We're going to have try to do at least 1 video a month on this, maybe more, and just keep adding to the playlist until we get tons of troubleshooting and a lot of different videos that'll help you out in the long run as far as diagnosing your chickens and things you can do to prevent them from happening in the first place, which is way better for all of us. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, we'll try to see you again on the next one.